Hi, church. Hey, a couple months ago, my wife Natalie shared an article with me that was very interesting. This article made an observation that many people during this season of COVID have been experiencing a bit of an identity crisis, either because of what they've lost or what's been greatly changed that used to give them identity and purpose. Things like their jobs, things like their hobbies and passions, things like social time with their friend groups, and it's left them disoriented at best. I just want to encourage you, if you're experiencing that or if you know of someone who is, there is a great promise in Jesus. He not only uses that, but is many times in that season of things being stripped away, that he's able to bring great change that we would otherwise be distracted from receiving. I want to read you an example of this from the book of Genesis chapter 32. This is the story of Jacob and Esau. It's a long story, but I'm going to read kind of near the end of it where Jacob has deceived his father, stole the blessing from Esau. He had to run away in fear of revenge. He comes back after many years and he's trying to send kind of gifts out to his brother to garner favor before he meets up with him, and he's terrified. And the night before he meets up with him, I want to read you what occurs because it's significant in this place of everything being stripped away. Genesis chapter 32, verse 22. The same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream and everything else that he had. And Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day has broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed." I want you to pay attention to what's happening here. When I read this passage, I was struck by that one phrase, and Jacob was left alone. Jacob had, at this point in his life, accumulated tons of wealth, both in cattle as well as family members and his camps. And it's at this point, because he sent everything ahead of him, he's fearing for his life. He was actually in a place of solitude, all alone, all around, departed from the things that gave him meaning and wealth and purpose and security, all by himself. And it's in that place that the person of God, Jesus Christ, met with him and wrestled him there. And I just want to encourage you. Sometimes God is waiting for us to be alone, to have nothing else surrounding us that we can look to for security, that we can look to for identity, so that he can do something new. Because it's in this place where the person of God actually wrestles with Jacob, where he does 2 things. 1, he changes his name, and 2, he changes his walk. He changes his name from Jacob to Israel. Jacob means supplanter, meaning taking something that wasn't rightfully his, to Israel. He gives him a new identity. And then he also touches his hip socket, and he walks with a limp from that day forward. He changes his walk. Speaking of God changing the way that we live. Sometimes it's in a place where everything's stripped away. We have nothing to look to for security or identity, that God meets us there. And what we've been waiting for far too long in terms of a new name and a new walk, it's in that uncomfortable place of being all alone with God that he gives us a new name and a new walk. So I just want you to be encouraged. Don't be afraid or shy away from the uncomfortable space, being disoriented, from feeling like you've either lost everything or have temporarily had a break from what you're used to. Take advantage of this opportunity, because God could be orchestrating a new way of life for you and a new identity for you to walk in. God bless you.